Okay, today we're heading to Singapore to look at two religions that, on the surface, seem like they're from different planets. On one hand, you've got an ancient faith just sprawling with gods, ghosts, and all these elaborate rituals. And on the other, a really modern, monotheistic religion that's all about global unity and social justice. We're going to put religious Taoism and the Bahá'í Faith side by side, and I gotta tell you, the connections we're about to find are pretty surprising.
So our guide on this journey is Phyllis Ghim-Lian, and she kicks things off with this really personal, powerful memory. It's a story about her family changing their faith, which meant a young child was suddenly cut off from the religion of her ancestors. And that personal angle is what makes our source material so compelling. This isn't some dry academic study. It's a real quest to understand a living, breathing part of Singapore's culture.
And this really gets us to the central puzzle, right? You've got the vibrant, kind of messy, polytheistic world of Chinese popular religion, and then you have the super-structured, unified Bahá'í Faith. I mean, how do you even start to compare those two? Well, that's the question we're going to tackle as we hunt for the hidden threads that connect these two seemingly opposite worlds.
So first up, let's dive into the world of Taoism. Before we can compare it to anything, we really need to get a handle on what this ancient faith actually looks like on the ground in a place like Singapore. And trust me, this isn't about dusty old philosophy books. This is about how a real community deals with life, death, and everything that happens in between.
Okay, first thing you have to know, there's a major split in Taoism. A lot of us have probably heard of philosophical Taoism, the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching. But that is not what we're talking about today. Nope, we're exploring religious Taoism. This tradition started with a vision from a guy named Cheng Tao-ling, and his mission was super practical: organize communities, heal people, and deal with the spirit world. This is the Taoism of the people. And in Singapore, this popular version of Taoism isn't in a neat little box. It's part of what our source calls the Chinese religion, which is this fascinating blend, almost like a spiritual smoothie. It just mixes everything together: religious Taoism, Mahayana Buddhism, Confucian ideas, and yeah, a pretty big dose of spirit mediumship. It's eclectic, it's practical, and it's just completely woven into the fabric of the culture. And this quote from the source just nails that idea perfectly. It's not about picking one team and sticking with it. It's about pulling different wisdoms for different parts of your life. So a person can be totally Confucian when it comes to family duty, a nature-loving Taoist at heart, and a mindful Buddhist, all at the same time.
So what does this religion actually do? Well, its rituals have two really critical jobs. For the living, it's all about building community. We're talking huge celebrations, street parades, and just thanking the gods for their blessings. But, and this is just as important, there are all the rituals for the dead. It's about making sure the soul is taken care of, guided, and eventually becomes a helpful ancestor. The belief is that the living can't really thrive unless the dead are at peace, which creates this incredibly powerful link between the two worlds.
And who are they praying to? Well, the Taoist pantheon is set up just like an old imperial government, which is so cool. Way at the top, you have the three pure ones, who are super abstract. Right below them is the Jade Emperor, who's basically the CEO of heaven. Then you've got your popular gods and goddesses, who are like department heads, each handling specific stuff. And finally, you have the 8 immortals. These were once regular people, so they're seen as especially helpful with everyday problems because, they've been there.
Okay, so we've got a feel for the intricate, ancient world of Taoism. Now, let's just switch gears completely. It's time to bring in our modern counterpoint, the Bahá'í Faith.
The Bahá'í Faith is way, way younger. It got its start back in 19th century Persia, and its core beliefs, you can see right away, are incredibly unified. It's strictly monotheistic. There is only one God. But here's the crucial part. It teaches that this one God has sent messengers to humanity all throughout history. So, figures like Moses, Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, they're all seen as part of one single unfolding divine story. And the ultimate goal, it isn't just about saving your own soul. It's about creating a just and peaceful global civilization for everyone.
All right, so we've got our two subjects, one ancient and blended, the other modern and unified. Now for the really fun part. Where in the world could these two paths possibly meet? Well, the connections are actually deeper than you might think. Here it is. This is the first and maybe the most profound connection we're going to find. That Bahá'í idea that all religions come from one divine source, it has a pretty strong parallel in Taoism. This is exactly why historically Taoism has been so open to absorbing ideas from Buddhism and Confucianism. It doesn't see them as competitors, but more like different rivers all flowing from the same mountain.
And check this out. Another shared idea pops up when you look at their vision for the future. Both traditions are looking forward to a promised age of peace. Taoist scriptures mention a divine man who will bring in an era of great peace. And for Baha'is, their founder, Baha'u'llah, is seen as the one who fulfills this and other prophecies, the one who is meant to kickstart that very same era of global peace.
Okay, this one is a total game changer. We look at popular Taoism and we see thousands of gods, right? But the source argues that, deep down, Taoism is actually monotheistic. All of those deities in that cosmic bureaucracy ultimately report to a single sovereign high god. This hidden structure makes its theology surprisingly close to the strict monotheism of the Bahá'í Faith. The polytheism is kind of like the user-friendly interface for a much more unified idea of God.
But let's not get carried away here. Despite these fascinating theological similarities, the way these two faiths operate day to day could not be more different. So now we need to look at what really truly sets them apart.
And yeah, the differences are huge. First off, structure. Taoism is decentralized, with tons of rival sects and regional flavors. The Bahá'í Faith? It's unified across the entire globe. Then, their focus. Taoism is all about rituals and ceremonies. The Bahá'í Faith stresses that what you do, your righteous deeds, are way more important. Even their ideas about evil are different. Taoism has demons and evil spirits that need to be dealt with. For Baha'is, evil is just the absence of good, kind of like how darkness is just the absence of light. And finally, Taoism has no single line of succession, while the Bahá'í Faith is built on a very clear written one.
And maybe the most significant difference comes down to this. The Bahá'í Faith was born in the modern era, and it's specifically designed to tackle modern problems, and introduces a whole set of social principles you just won't find in ancient Taoism. Things like the equality of men and women, the harmony between science and religion, and the need for a global government. It's a spiritual framework built for a planetary civilization.
So all of this brings us to the final, and probably the most challenging part of our whole analysis. What is the future for these faiths in our world, which is changing so fast?
You know, the source material, even though it was written a while back, was already pointing to a challenge. Data from the 80s showed a drop in the percentage of Singapore's Chinese population who followed this traditional blended faith. And that raised a question back then that is even more important today. Are the ancient answers it provides still connecting with people in a modern, educated, globalized world?
And this really is the core challenge. Religious Taoism, in its popular form, is brilliant at addressing those fundamental human worries: health, luck, and having a good afterlife. But what happens when you live in a world that increasingly turns to science for answers and is driven by materialism? Can a system that old adapt? That's the huge, existential question it's up against. And that's where our journey ends. We've seen that even the most different-looking faiths can share some surprisingly deep spiritual roots. But it also leaves us with this final, provocative question to chew on. In the 21st century, is it enough for ancient religions to just adapt to stay relevant? Or does humanity actually need entirely new spiritual frameworks to navigate the unique, crazy challenges of our time? The answer, well, that remains to be seen.